So, I wanted to talk to you all for a little bit. I have to go run some errands soon, but I did want to come on here and make a quick encouragement, inspiration, and manifestation video. It is super hot outside. It is July. Um, so I'm like already prepping myself to go out in that heat because Lord have mercy. But I just wanted to come on here and kind of give you all that extra encouragement today and good vibes, good energy. If you're really wanting to manifest something, do not give up, okay? I think that, you know, if people look at the world and look at current circumstances and situations that they're in, it's very easy to for people to get discouraged, okay? It's very easy for people to forget how much progress they've actually made in their life. So I really kind of wanted to give you all a reminder of how amazing, your life can really be. And, there's a cliche that we all hear all the time, like never settle, believe in yourself. But it goes a lot deeper than that. It's about your psyche, your mind, and the quality of one's life. And I think it's always important, especially, I mean, if you're on social media for even, 2 minutes to 5 minutes, you'll realize that people will have crazy stories about whether it's work, relationship, especially relationship, right? Even a health, which is scary. It doesn't take long on social media or in the world to see people complaining or see people um, having some kind of viral moment that's negative go viral. Um, and I think that there is a huge bonus to social media. There's a huge bonus to the age we're living in. And me personally, I have decided to extract the knowledge, the lessons, the gemstones, and leave all the goop and negativity and self doubt behind because we can choose to operate in what we believe, what we embody, what we know we are, and the kind of life that we want to have and legacy, or we can choose to follow the masses, follow the herd that's only going to crash and burn into a brick wall. So it's so important to know that there's only one of you. And I don't care what your background is, what your age is. I just want to spread some love on you today. Okay. I want you to really like take in this message the way that I've taken in this words of life for myself, because you can't always wait for the world to validate what you know. You can't always expect people to always have time to show you affection, or every little thing you do someone's behind you clapping you. Yes, your spirit team, I call it spirit team. I know people say spirit guides, but I'm just going to be true to myself and say spirit team. I always say spirit team over spirit guides because spirit team is like, for me, it's a deeper meaning than just a guide. I see it a little bit deeper than that. So yeah, spirit guides are in my spirit team, but I prefer to say spirit team because it's like there's more than one, and they all have different jobs and they all do different things for me on this earthly journey, this path. And so the reality is, in life, we can't always have someone behind us clapping us. Good job for doing this and good job for doing that. And oh, you look so good today. Like, you know, some people can have millions of fans, beautiful family, amazing lover, and I can guarantee you one day or another, somewhere, somehow, it's gonna fall short. And if you're not always getting that constant validation of what you know inside, you're gonna be angry. It's human nature to say, well, what's wrong with this person? And why aren't they doing this? And why aren't they doing that? And the reality is that we have to always go back to ourselves, ourselves. And, touch a little bit on relationships, because this video is not really about relationships. It's more so about like oneself, and then what you are will reflect in your life, like your quality of life. And I think that more than ever, and this is why I love, um, wisdom as the life experience goes on. I love gaining wisdom because these are the things that only life can teach you. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to read it from a book or hear it around the block, but then when you've lived it, tested it, and trialed it, and then you've actually seen the difference in just a book versus like you living it and you breathing it, it's a whole different experience. So I think to touch bases on like marriage and relationships, and what I've seen on social media tying into this video is like people are beginning to wonder, is marriage out of style? Is even relationships out of style? Is it, um not something that people really should prioritize or invest in anymore because, the times have changed. But it kind of just goes all the way back to square one, which is like, what happiness can you give yourself, right? Like, how do you see yourself? Because even if you're in a relationship, like if that person's working, okay, or you're working as well, or whatever work you do, whatever you classify as work, okay, they cannot always be around, right? Like no one's gonna always be right next to you 24/7. And if they are, hopefully it's a healthy um, you know, relationship, but that's not realistic. So for most people in general, it's not realistic. So the reality is that our choices lead to our quality of life. That's where I think a lot of people, maybe sadly for a lot of people, when it's too late, they don't understand how life works. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times they'll say, well, they didn't have a good childhood or nobody taught me, which are all valid. These are all valid things I've heard, I've seen, people say, well, nobody taught me that. Nobody showed me the way. Nobody, I didn't have that kind of, I wasn't born into they always like to say a rich family. I think we've all heard people say that on social media. Well, I'm not rich like this person, and I didn't have this, and I didn't have that. But you can, though. That's where the programming and the psychology comes in. It's like, but you can, though. You can create that. If you didn't come from that, you can create that. It may not be easy. It may not be all, sweet. It may not be always, luxurious days. It may be some days where you're crying and you're tired and you have to have caffeine and you have to bust your butt. I mean, I know I did. I know I did. And in my life, I just giving a personal example, you can have all the, if you're blessed by God and quite frankly privileged, to be frank, if you do have the background support, if you do have support, especially financially, not just from a romantic partner, but from your family, which a lot of people don't have, what I'm saying? Like, um, so with that said, putting all that into account, it may be a longer journey than others. But the key thing is, if somebody has so-called shortcuts, or they have outside support, or whatever you want to call it, um, that's not a person's path. right? Like what I'm trying to say is like that's not like, let's say for example, name any celebrity, right? Like they have their own path. They have their own family. They have their own career. They have their own kids. That's their life. That's not my life. So I think it's very important that when you are manifesting, when you are trying to better yourself, better oneself, to then therefore better your quality of life, you don't compare yourself. Don't compare yourself to people that have not started have not excuse me, and have not done things that you've had to do. I'll give a short example. It's like somebody wants to be a model, and they may have to do all types of stuff, certain kind of training in their body, get professional headshots, maybe go to certain talent agencies, travel, all types of stuff. Whereas maybe a young lady in another family, didn't have to hit the grindstone, and maybe just through one contact, one connection, they get a huge fashion campaign. They get a huge offer deal on the table. Now, no one's saying it's fair or not fair, but once again, we all have our own adventure. I've always said from when I was young, very, very young, like, I don't have any tattoos. I don't know if I've ever had any tattoos in my life. I just have never liked the idea of things being carved into my skin, but I like um when I was like, in high school, I would like temporary tattoos, but not tattoos that are like, full armed or, somewhere that looks kind of weird. I would have it like, little things behind your neck or your wrist and things like that. And I remember when I was like, way younger, I would say, oh, life is an adventure. And I would always kind of visualize like an open book and roses coming out of the book. And in like that old English writing, it says, life is an adventure, and it's in the back of your neck. And I've always had that in my head, even though I will never, I don't think I'll ever really get it. I don't think I would ever get a tattoo. If I do, then I don't know who would convince me. 'Cause I've never had I never had a permanent tattoo in my life, but that's a visual that I've always had in my head, and it's so true to life. Like it's so true to life. Life is an adventure. So don't compare yourself to other people who've not walked in your shoes, have not made the sacrifices that you have made, and have not come from the background that you've come from. Be proud of where you are today. Be proud of what you have accomplished. Be proud of who you are. Love yourself inside and out. Don't ever doubt it. Don't ever put yourself down. People in the world may put you down, but don't put yourself down, especially if you're a person who gets to a point in life where people can judge you on a big scale, you know, or any major scale. You can't let that change you. You can't let that define you. And if you're surrounded by people who are, negative Nancy's and don't lift you up, then guess what? It's up to you. Yes, it's up to you to detach emotionally. Don't attach yourself emotionally to people that you don't respect, you don't see in your future. Um, they're not even connected to you. How many people, like, especially when I was younger, this is actually what I've learned in my life. Like, as I live more life, it's like some of us are so easy to get offended, by people that are rude or have things that are not positive to say. And sadly, some people take that to heart, and their whole life, from a baby to 80, 100, 75, whatever age, God willing, past 60, they take to heart. They get offended. And they live with these words in their head of people that don't even know who they are, don't appreciate them, don't value them, and have nothing to do with their future. So if these are influences or people that are, or I would even say voices that are telling you the opposite of what you know in your heart, why are you listening to those voices? You know, um, a phrase I can add to that is go where you're celebrated. Go where you're celebrated. Don't try to fit into anything in particular if it's not authentic to who you are. One thing that I pride myself on with my social media presence and all the things I've done in my life up to this point is I've just been myself. God, honest truth. I never got hung up on things that others were doing that I felt like, therefore, that I needed to do. I have never in my life, really truthfully, lived a life, and I'm very proud of this. I've never lived a life where I said, I need to do this like this person. I need to, if they're wearing that, I need to wear that. I'm never that kind of person. I can appreciate something from afar and keep it just like that. I don't then have to try to change myself to make anybody like me. Oh, my puppy is, you okay, baby? It's hot, so she's like clearing out her throat. You okay, baby? Come here. My little chihuahua. You all right? So I do pride myself on that tremendously. Like, I've never been in a headspace of like, that person's got that, or that person's like this, so then I need to change my, like, that is such a horrible way to live. Horrible way to live. So when I say never settle and to encourage yourself and to love yourself from the inside out, what it simply means is that you understand that this life is about you. It's about you. This is your life. This is your life. Anybody at any time can leave, can come and go, on a drop of a dime. Things can change. And you can't live by those dictatorships. You can't, because then you're always going to feel like you're living a life that's not your own. You're going to feel like you're living for somebody else's version of what they want you to be, how they want you to talk, how they want you to look, what job they want you to do. That's like the opposite of living authentically. So you have to live a life that is a good life the way that you think it's a good life and the way that you see it. So the easiest, one of the easiest ways I would say that you really manifest what's meant for you is by being yourself. By being yourself, and loving yourself. And by you being yourself and loving yourself, you're then therefore going to attract your tribe. You're going to meet members of your soul family that have agreed to also meet you on this physical earthly plane. And I'm not telling you what's in a fairy tale novel. I'm telling you what I've lived. I'm telling you what I continue to live. Like, when I was 18 years old, it was either 18 or 21 years old. I think it was 18 years old, but I feel like the crescendo was really when I was 21. But when I was 18 more specifically, and I chose to, leave the church, that kind of denomination of church that I was raised in, and a lot of things I was like taught I did not align with, I did not agree with. And so when I was officially, like a young adult, 18, some people I've seen out here, they move out from like 16, they have their own life from 16, some people, some countries, some states, but the normal age is like 18, 18 is like the official age. And so for me as well, like a lot of things that just did not align with me, I could no longer keep living a lie. You know, I could no longer keep living this lie of thinking that certain things that I was um either brought up in or introduced to was okay and was for me. You know, just because somebody's a Christian does not mean that their offspring is Christian. Does not mean that if, you know, for example, the father's a doctor, now all his children have to be doctors. You know, like that is so played out and so not true to what life is about. You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling you things I've lived, and every time that I don't put these principles into practice and I don't do what I'm telling you all that I've done, um, life changes. Life can change in a way that um, naturally over time you're going to say, oh, I wish it was better. Because when we stay stagnant or when we don't be fully like honest with how our lives are or like what we are, who we are around certain people, like, you know, the quality of life can become either average or poor, you know? But then every single time you love on yourself and you go back to, you know, they call the star player, that's another phrase I love to use, but like, you know, you go back to your star player and you tap in again once again with the kind of life that you want to live, not the kind of life that people want you to live, the life that you want to live. Everything becomes like a magnet. Everything is attracted to you that you want, and it will come in quick. You know, the more aligned you are, it will come to you very quickly, like very quickly, sometimes shockingly quick. And you'll be like, what in the heck did I do to get that, that, and that? But if you go back to the drawing board, you'll see that you were at a high vibration, you were eating clean, you were living clean, um, you know, whatever you guys do. But I'm just saying, like, at least for me, I can only speak for myself in that regard. There would be certain things I do that just get my vibration higher and higher and higher and higher, and just things just the best way I can describe it is just things come to you, you know, things just come to you. And it may sound very easy or cliche, but it's not. It's really not. Things just fall into place because it's where you're meant to be at that time, doing whatever you're doing, living however you're living. And you carry a spirit of gratitude. You know, most people I look up to, besides any kind of controversy, you know, in the media. And I've had critiques on a lot of celebrities that I look up to, that I like, that I appreciate their work. You know, I think that just for the video's sake, I want to say and pay homage to Oprah. You know what I'm saying? I think that Oprah has made some professional choices with certain guests that I did not appreciate. But I think that Oprah, as a woman, as a lady who came from really humble beginnings, you know, almost I would say borderline poverty, to not just a multimillionaire, but a billionaire who, through her work and her perseverance, I have found really probably half of the speakers that have changed my life, like Eckhart Tolle and Abraham Hicks, and so many other writers and producers and artists that are incredibly, incredibly successful. And it's because of Oprah. You know what I'm saying? Not that everything that Oprah has done I've loved, and I've said that, and I've called it out when I needed to call it out. But she is one of the women, hands down, that I will always have respect for, regardless of any controversy swirling around her, because I don't look at the negative. I look at what positively she's done for not just her industry, not just for women, but for the world. And that's something that nobody can take from her. you know? And I'm the same way with other celebrities. If there's something that a celebrity that's controversial does that I don't necessarily may not have as much respect for, right? But if they do something that I think is just noble and like deserves credit, I will give credit where credit is due. And those who are loyal subscribers of my channel know that. I've always been that kind of person. And if it's not on camera, it is in, when the camera's off. It is in real life. Trust me, like I don't cherry pick. If somebody has that going on, I'll be like, they got that going on. And kudos to you. Because why? Because I'm not a hater. Like you know, I'm not a hater. I am a person in like real life that loves to see people happy, genuinely, genuinely. And it makes me happy to see that people, especially women, have worked so hard, incredibly hard, and they put it all on Front Street, all on the line, and they're just bossing it, and that's not something that's easy. I think that, women under 25, um, life is a funny way. Like, when you're a certain age, you're not seeing things the way, past 21, past 23, you're seeing life. You know what I'm saying? Like, the more you live life, the more your brain is growing, the more knowledge you have, the more, books, self-help books and all that type of stuff, whatever people are into. But that's just what I've done, certain books and things like that. But then most importantly, experience, like I said, a book can only take you so far. You got to apply what you've learned from the from the knowledge of the book, or the knowledge of the video, or the knowledge of a CD, or whatever, or a seminar, right? Or an Instagram post. Like it has to go deeper than that to actually manifest in your own life. It has to go from being a spectator and being an admirer to now you're a doer. Now, in your own life, you're doing what you thought you could never do. You're impressing yourself, you're making yourself happy, and and most importantly, you're proud of yourself, and you love yourself, and you love yourself beyond how you look, and you love yourself beyond how much you earn. You just love yourself because you know that this is the body and the life force energy and the essence that God gave you in this lifetime. And you've got to really leave it all, leave it all in the life. You know what I'm saying? Like when I think Tina Turner just recently passed away, and I loved how she described, you know, death. Yes, death. I loved how Tina Turner described death. She did not describe it with mourning and sadness and all this other stuff. Like the way that Tina Turner described all the trials and tribulations she went through, and then how she sees like the afterlife, or just whatever you want to call it. But yeah, like the afterlife, and what happens after death. Like the way she described it is like, in a lot of ways, is how I see it. And it's an optimistic one, it's an adventurous one. It's not a one where it's of mourning, it's of jubilation that you've lived a full life. And I'm so proud to tell you all. I know there's, people that are going to be OGs that watch this video, and I love you all. I really do. And I could say wholeheartedly, like today, I have lived a life with no regrets. I have no regrets. I only would want to be more bold, truthfully. I think that there was a period, especially with the pandemic, where I felt like I had to recluse and recharge, and it's a shame that I think the pandemic took so much of a valuable gap out of, and still is, out of so many of our lives. And that is a tough pill to swallow, but it's life. We're not always promised the sunshine. Sometimes we're promised rain, and we have to dance in the rain. We got to dance in the rain. We got to suck it up sometimes, and we have to chew that bitter pill sometimes to get to the promised land. A lot of times we have to go through that rain to get to the promised land. We really do. We really do. And so I just wanted to come on here and give off this good energy that I feel today. I feel so good today, especially like I told you all, I got my vanity up, my glasses installed in my vanity. I had some guests earlier, actually yesterday, come over and look at it and they were gobsmacked like me. I mean, so exciting. And it's things like that that you have to do for yourself, because if one thing can make you feel a lot better and can help you be more organized or whatever, skill or craft you want to improve, you got to do it. Sometimes I mean, most time we got to make sacrifices. We got to make real solid sacrifices, like I said, to get to that promised land, to get to that finished result of being proud of what you've done. And I'm so happy that I can say that. So, you know, I just want people to live their best lives. I don't want people to be limited by, uh, karmics and um, exes and their childhood and, racism and sexism and ageism. I don't want anybody to be held back by these things, because I think that in this world, it's so easy to give up. It is so easy to be average. It is very easy. It's very easy to live a life that is messy, that is, you know, on easy mode. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I've learned, like, in most of the accomplishments I've had, not just with YouTube, I've had other accomplishments outside of YouTube galore. And every single time I had to sweat. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying in terms of physical labor or having to, climb on nobody, in terms of a ladder to get to here. No, I'm talking about, like, you have to apply yourself. You have to apply yourself, and you have to be willing to feel embarrassed, to feel goofy, to feel like an amateur, to get to where you want to be. So don't give up. Don't give up. Don't let what anybody that is negative or has their own limitations tell you what limitations you should have. As far as I'm concerned, there is no limits. There is no limits. And anybody can do whatever they want to do, as long as they're respecting other people and they're not, copying or slandering or whatever. Like, they're not hurting somebody, especially physically. Like, yeah, do whatever you want to do. You know what I'm saying? But do it in truth, you know? Do it in integrity and live a life that you're proud of. I don't care what age you are. There are some teenagers, I think I said this in another video, there's people even younger than me and you, who are living a better quality of life than their parents and their great grandparents. You hear what I'm saying to you? There are some people out here that just get it, you know? And woe is the people who look down on them and, laugh at them because they're changing their family tree. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones, there she goes again. Come, baby, come here. She being a little drama queen. Come, baby. Come, Celine, come. 1 second, y'all. She had a little congestion. She's okay, y'all. We've been giving her allergy medicine. She's fine now. She's smiling. But that's just something that I notice. You know what I'm saying? It's something that I always take note of when I see that there's people, you know, triple my age and lost. And there's people half my age soaring high in the sky, and living every dream they have. And that's the difference. That's the difference of a life that had no limits, had no boundaries, didn't let no circumstance stop them, and a life, on the other hand, that was crippled by anxiety, crippled by self-doubt, crippled by other people's placed discrimination or whatever. You know what I'm saying? no matter how dark it looks, always count and know that there's going to be those who shine a light, never me personally, I never want to live in a world where I just think that everybody is bad and everybody has alternative motives. I don't want to live a life like that. I don't want to live my life like that. So even if I see people talking about whatever topic it is, especially when it comes to love and relationships, they'll be like, oh, they all do this, they all do that. That's just not how I choose to live. I can acknowledge it, but I don't have to accept it. So I'm gonna get off here, y'all. I gotta go run these errands. It's over 35 minutes. I love y'all, okay?